I work with entrepreneurs who have sold their businesses for millions. Some for 20 million, some for 50 million, and some for over $100 million. But after the wire hits, there's one problem that nobody talks about, and it stems from this one important question. What does this money really do for me in my life? That right there is the difference between having a successful exit that changes your life and an exit that just changes your balance sheet. I'm Luke Turner. I'm a certified financial planner and certified exit planning advisor. And over the last 5 years, I've helped dozens of entrepreneurs navigate 8 and 9-figure exits. Today, I'm going to walk you through one of those exits. Real numbers, real scenarios. A $48 million exit. But the wire that hit, only $27.4 million. And you see that number on the bottom? $20 plus million. Where did that go? Well, I'm going to walk you through this entire exit, the ins and the outs of it. And if you are approaching an exit and you're relying on your banker and your attorney only, chances are you are missing the most important conversation. Let's dive in. Let's rewind the clock 18 months from now. 18 months from now, this client's probably sitting in my office with a term sheet saying,
I have a deal on the table for a life-changing amount of money. What should I do?
Well, I would take them through 4 steps. Step number 1 is knowing your number. Knowing your number is understanding what does it cost to be me and knowing how much do I need to sell this business for to make sure that I don't need to make another dollar or save another dollar the rest of my life. The second piece is my estate exposure. When you think about estate exposure, anybody that has a business worth over $15 million, chances are you are going to have a taxable estate. We're not going to dive deep into that today, but easiest way to think about it is if you have anything over $15 million of net worth, gets taxed at 40%. So if you're watching this video and you have a net worth of $30, $40, $50 million, chances are you might have an estate tax liability of millions and millions of dollars. So make sure that you're thinking about that prior to an exit or a transaction. It could save you millions. The third piece is going to be the deal structure. The key element here when I think about the deal structure is, are we rolling over equity? Rollover equity is where you are putting more money back into the deal, you're staying on, and then you're going to be in a position that you're going to continue running that business and you're trying to get that second bite of the apple. Well, that second bite of the apple could be worth tens of millions of dollars, but for a lot of clients, it might not make sense to roll over any equity. It might be time to cash in the chips and walk away, which leads us to our fourth point, which is, are we going to have any earned income after this transaction happens? The reality is that's going to be a big determining factor on point 1, which is, what is our number? Now let's go back to that first point, which is defining your number. This is hands down the most important thing you need to be doing before you sign any LOI, before you take any further steps in your transaction. You need to understand, number 1, what does it cost to be me? And number 2, how much money do I need after taxes to make sure I can live that same lifestyle forever? The biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs make is they sell their business for too little money and a dollar amount that cannot support their lifestyle. So an easy math equation you can do if you're watching this video at home, take the amount of money you're spending, let's call it $500,000 a year, divide it by 0.04, meaning that we can spend 4% off our portfolio in perpetuity, that 4% rule that you've heard of before. So if you're spending $500,000, that means you need $12.5 million after taxes, after fees, to make sure that you can live your lifestyle in perpetuity and never dip into your principal. One big problem that I see entrepreneurs run into is that when they start down the path of selling their business, they have 3 key people that are on their team. And let's pull up this visual and check it out. Now, who's running what in your transaction? First person that you're going to have on the team is a banker. This is going to be the person that's going to take your business to market. They are worth their weight in gold. Too many times I see entrepreneurs wanting to nickel dime on a transaction. Now is not the time to nickel and dime. Pay an investment banker to take your business to market. It will be the best decision that you could ever make. The second person is going to be your attorney. This is going to be a key member of the team to make sure that you have the right documents drawn up and they're going to help negotiate the contract. And the third member of your team is going to be your CPA. Well, your CPA is going to be a key member of the team to make sure that we minimize taxes over our lifetime. And that leaves us you. Who is running you? Who is running your family's household? Who is helping to make the decisions around your personal financial life? Well, that's where a certified financial planner and an exit planner should come in to make sure that not only are you selling for the maximum amount of money, but that dollar amount is actually going to get you what you want in your life. Because remember, that's the number 1 question we're trying to answer today. What does this money really do for my life? And again, that's the difference between a successful exit and one that simply changes your balance sheet. Now, for the entrepreneur that we're talking about today, this is where the real numbers come into play. We've already talked about what do we need to be doing 18 months pre-exit? How do we need to be thinking about the number that we need from a sale perspective? Who needs to be on our team? The thing that we haven't talked about are the real numbers. That $20 million gap we talked about. Let's dive into it. We've already addressed that the headline number for this transaction was $48 million, a great outcome for this entrepreneur. For this entrepreneur in particular, the way that we were thinking about it is they wanted to stay on board. So they were rolling equity into the next deal, which means that they were going to stay on board and they were going to be in a position where they wanted to run the company and potentially sell the company again in the future to maximize that rollover equity. $9.6 million. Now, after that $9.6 million gets rolled in, and a key element here is that any money that gets rolled into the transaction, if structured properly, that is not going to get taxed at the time of the transaction. That's an important element to make sure you understand. That gives us our $38.4 million. That $38.4 million is now going to get reduced by $9.1 million. Those are going to be our taxes. We're going to have 20% to federal capital gains tax and then 3.8% to net investment income tax. Depending on the state you live in, you may or may not have taxes. If you're in a state like Texas, where there's 0% state income tax, you're not going to have any tax liability. If you're in a state like Missouri, you also might have 0% state income tax because they do not tax pass-through entities on the transaction. But if you're in a state like California, you might be subject to an extra 13.3%. So make sure you're thinking about that in advance. We're thinking about that net number. We're also then going to reduce our transaction amount by $1.9 million. These are going to be fees that we're going to be paying to our investment banker, our CPA, our attorney, and that's going to leave us our $27.4 million. Now, your $27.4 million is what leaves us at the bottom. And that $27.4 million, that is our job to make sure that we are investing it in a way that allows you to meet all of your financial goals. And the way that I like to think about it is a bucketing approach. We like to keep things simple. So there's 4 buckets that we're going to focus on as we're thinking about this transaction as a whole. The first bucket that we're going to talk about is our lifestyle capital. Think about this as the amount of money that we need set aside from an investment perspective to make sure that we can always fund our lifestyle moving forward. So if you remember that example I gave you before, $500,000 divided by 0.04 gives us our $12.5 million. So if we have $12.5 million allocated to that lifestyle capital bucket, that puts us in a position that we're going to be able to live our lifestyle forever. And that frees us up with the remaining money to decide how we want to allocate it. And the way we would think about it is allocate it into one of these other 3 buckets. The first is our long-term growth strategy. This is a bucket where we are going to get a higher expected rate of return, but we're going to have more volatility. There's going to be more movement in the portfolio as a whole. The third bucket is going to be our legacy bucket. Now, what is our desire from a legacy perspective? Are we philanthropic? Do we want to give to charities? Do we want to be in a position that we're going to give a significant amount of money to our kids? We need to be thinking about that from an investment perspective because our investment strategy is going to be largely determined by what is our income need and how long are we planning on being able to have these dollars invested. And then it's going to be our opportunistic bucket. Opportunistic investments are going to be reinvesting into other privately held businesses, venture capital, angel investments, deals that we know have illiquidity and higher amounts of risk, but also have higher amounts of upside. So if you're a risk taker, like most entrepreneurs, there's probably going to be a lot of money allocated to our opportunistic bucket. And that's okay. The only way that you blow this financial situation up is you over allocate to bucket 4 and bucket 2. So make sure that you always have that lifestyle capital set aside. So no matter what happens in the business, no matter what happens in the rest of the portfolio, you will always be set for life. Now, for this example, we are going to assume that the deal goes sideways. The 27.4 hits his bank account, he pays the taxes, but that $9+ million that he reinvested into the business completely gets wiped out. Unfortunately, this happens from time to time, and you need to make sure that you are prepared for the worst case scenario. The reality is, when you are running a business, you are always protecting for the downside. And after you sell your business, it's even more important to protect the downside because your number one appreciating asset your entire life as an entrepreneur has been the business ownership that you have. But the great thing is for entrepreneurs like this, even if we are in a situation where the $9+ million goes away, the job goes away, the earned income is completely eliminated. Remember, we had our $12.5 million set aside in our lifestyle capital bucket. And that put us in a position that no matter what happened in the business, no matter what happened with our income, we are always going to be able to spend $500,000 forever off our portfolio. And let's not forget, we have over $15 million in other assets in that portfolio. So what should your takeaway be as you're watching this as an entrepreneur? Well, number one is that if you're approaching an exit or you're even thinking about preparing your business for sale, you need to be planning in advance. Look at that 18-month roadmap that we built out and we walked through early in this video. You need to make sure that you understand your number, and you need to make sure you're understanding the implications of the transaction that you're about to walk through. For the entrepreneurs watching this video, what I'll leave you with is you have worked way too hard to be in a position not to surround yourself with specialists. If you don't have specialists on your team and you want to get a second set of eyes, schedule a call in the comments below. You can talk to me and I can walk through the ins and outs of your exact situation with you. Not ready to schedule a call? Take the Moment Money Quiz. It's going to tell you exactly where you sit in your financial life in under 2 minutes. Until next time.